Hey guys, Matt, IronTrap Garage, working on the free T again. So I haven't been doing a ton of work to this car because of the weeks leading up to and also the week of Hershey AACA Fall Swap Meet. It's a huge deal in my world, and pretty much everything sort of revolves around that leading up to and the week of. Of course, if you guys haven't checked it out, we have a couple videos from our adventures at Hershey, both walking the car corral and then also kind of just a general overview. You can see those videos if you go back in our channel. What I'm working on today is just kind of getting back on the floor of the T. So I got the floor all spot welded up, and you guys saw the last video on that where I just worked on spot and stitch welding the floors together. Now what I'm doing is working on getting the seam sealer all laid down over all the seams where I stitch and spot welded the floor and tunnel sections together. What I'm trying to do with this car is keep the metal sort of exposed on the floor. I'm not putting like a floor covering on this. What I hope to do is spray some sort of textured coating on it that will look sort of subdued, but also still let you see kind of the metalwork that's done in the floor, which I think is pretty neat when you look inside the car. So what I'm doing is working on keeping the seam sealer pretty tidy and not being too messy with it like I would be if a car had carpet over it. So what I'm going to do is finish taping up the floor. I've already started right in this section here, and I'm basically laying tape on either side of the seams that we're seam sealing so that I can kind of run a bead of seam sealer in there and smooth it out with my finger, which you'll see here shortly. And then when I pull the tape away, we get pretty crisp lines, and we don't have this really messy seam sealer with like the hairs going all over the place. It's a nice flat bead that goes down in the seam, and yeah, should get everything going pretty nicely. Then we are kind of on the home stretch of sealing up the inside of the car, and I can start working my way around the rest of the way. So I'm going to keep taping and lay some seam sealer. Alright, so I got all the seam sealer laid down, and I'm pretty happy with how everything came out. The seam sealer went on really easy using that tape method. I was able to get some pretty crisp lines, and I was also able to keep the mess to a minimum. One of my least favorite things of doing seam sealer, anytime I do seam sealer on a car and I'm working on, is you seem to get it everywhere. And you guys that have used anti-seize have probably had the same problem. It's like you somehow get anti-seize or seam sealer on your face, on your jeans, on everywhere on the project. And next thing you know, you got a big old mess. I did have a couple spots that I kind of touched by accident with my glove, or the tape might have touched just a tiny bit. That just put some slight discoloration, but nothing like big globs of seam sealer like you can get if you don't do the tape method like that. So it gets a little bit of a mess that we have to clean up, like you can see behind me, but it's just a ball of tape. Once the seam sealer dries on it, we can just throw it in the trash can. We're ready to go. So I'm going to wait about an hour, and then what I can do after that hour is I can spray another coat of epoxy primer, because the seam sealer in about 60 minutes is paintable. So I'm going to spray some epoxy primer on the whole mess to get it all gray and all sealed up with one single coat. And then I can move on to the next part of the build. Now, I did mention in other videos that I was thinking about doing some sort of textured coating to the floor. I have some rubberized rust encapsulator that has a cool kind of textured finish, and I also have some splatter paint that you use in the trunk of like muscle cars, had that. So I'm going to experiment with that stuff here soon, and then once I find something I like, I'll spray that on the floors, the tunnel, and pretty much the whole inside of the car. So I'm going to keep working on this thing now. The car show season is over and Hershey is over. I am ready to start kicking butt in the garage for the winter, and we're going to try and get this car done for the spring and have it driving and raising hell in it next spring and summer. So that's all I got for this one. I appreciate you guys watching. As always, we do videos on Tuesday, Friday, and Sunday. So make sure you hit the subscribe button, share with friends if you like what you see, and give us a comment. Let us know what you think. Thanks, guys. Catch you later.